You achieved a childhood dream of playing in the NFL. What was that like?
Oh my goodness. Just doing something that I always dreamed about, just being there, the moment was just surreal. Like I can't believe it. It seemed like I was in a dream from the time that I started even till today. Just doing something that a lot of people dream about and just being a kid watching my heroes do that. It's an awesome feeling, just knowing that I went out and accomplished something that I really worked hard for. So it's almost hard to explain, but just the feeling that I get is just, holy crap, I finally made it.
Does it feel real or does it still feel like you lived in a dream?
I Now, since I'm an older guy, yes, it does feel real because I can reflect back on what I did and how I did it and just realize like, man, I kind of had some skills. I didn't think of it like that then, but now looking back, I'm like, holy crap, I did some stuff.
I think you have plenty of skills
Mhm.
to this day, and we're going to talk about a lot of them. What was going through your mind before your first NFL game?
Hmm. Honestly, just trying to make it, just trying to fit in, be a part of what was going on. Coming out of college, I had a lot to learn. I thought that I knew the game of football, but we talking about a different beast. In a sense that now it's a business. It's what everybody is doing to support their family, to support their lifestyle. And so it took me the longest time to understand that and just to make that adjustment to this is real now. You playing with somebody's life. So took a while for me to understand that, but after the fact, I kind of learned.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've read and heard other athletes talk about that how money does change the game,
Mhm.
where the purity of college football once was about the love of the game. We won't get too much into the new NIL and all that
Oh my
stuff
gosh.
with, making money in college because they may start experiencing that as young as 18, 19, freshman year compared to when they're drafted in the NFL, right?
Exactly.
But you just described money definitely changed the perspective. It was no longer playing ball for fun. It was paying bills, supporting a family, and then you're also cognizant that the people you're playing against, if you hit them or they hit you, they could be taking away your income, how you support your family. So it's a big perspective that I don't know if everyone takes into account. People love watching the ESPN top 10 big hits, and they've come up with different concussion protocols and all these different things.
Mhm.
But you got to take into account that guy's not playing the long lasting damage to his brain, his body, and ultimately supporting his family and himself. So it's
Mhm.
something that I think it's overlooked too frequently, right?
It is. It is. And I think also as a young athlete, and just the fact that from high school, it was fun. You had guys that we were all doing the same thing, everything that we were trying to accomplish was to win, just to be a family, have fun. College, it was the same thing, but you're trying to get to the next level if you could. But it's a different ball game when you start throwing money at people, and like this is what I need to do for the rest of my life to make a difference. And attitudes change, how people think change, and then you view different things like I don't want to get hurt, so I might not go 100% because I could get hurt. So you're trying to think of longevity. So a lot of things weigh in the factor when you start dealing with money.
Changes the game.
It big time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How would you describe your experience in the NFL?
Knowing what I know now, 35 years later, I wish that I had someone to mentor me. And what I mean by that, because I came in under the perception that, all for one and one for all, we were all together in this, and you were gonna scratch my back and I'm scratching your back. No, man, everybody is for themselves. And if you don't understand that mentality and man, it's a dog eat dog world, you'll kind of get lost in the shrubs of everything else that's going by. And I think, well, no, I know that's what kind of happened to me because I kind of let things just go past me and didn't really care and didn't really want to understand what was really going on.
Sure.
Mm.
Hopefully, conversations like these can help mentor young athletes because when you're coming up, there are few avenues to listen. I mean, maybe an interview or maybe a journal or a biography or an autobiography, right?
Hmm.
But now, within 10 seconds, you could be on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and you could
Yes,
be looking up, you know, what's Tom Brady talking about in retirement? And then you can learn from stuff now. But I mean, in the 90s, the opportunity to do that was pretty slim, right?
exactly.
Um, you played for several NFL teams.
Hmm.
Which one was your favorite to play on?
Well, the longest team that I had the opportunity to play with was the Colts, Indianapolis Colts, and I have to say that was by far my favorite because I stayed there an entire year, played 16 games, and had the opportunity to just to show what I can do. I ended up um, 4 weeks in New England with the Patriots, and I didn't get much of an opportunity besides practice and standing on the sidelines during the games there, and then I was in camp with the Los Angeles Raiders, and I really enjoyed that experience. I think I learned a lot there. I had an opportunity, but it just didn't work out for me. I guess my time was, I don't know, at its end in the NFL by then. So Indianapolis for sure.
Cool.
Mhm.
Good answer. You play with a lot of players from high school, Division One, college, obviously in the NFL, and then after that as well that we're going to talk about in a bit.
Uh-huh.
In the NFL, who were some of the best teammates that you played with?
Um, ooh, that's a good question. Some of the best teammates I played with. You know, I used to hear the number one draft choice in 1990, I know that's a long time ago, was Jeff George. And a lot of people have different opinions of Jeff. And, they said he was just headstrong. And, some people, he was crazy. I really like Jeff. He came in, he was a really good talent, had arm. And, you know, I, I just watched, he was a competitor. I never seen uh, a player just kind of talk to a coach the way he talked to him and just, was just demanding and wanted to be the man. And I realized after the fact that you got to be like that. You playing with guys with egos. You have to know that you're the best and you can get the job done given the opportunity.
I talk about my dad a lot.
Hmm.
Confidence and competence
Oh,
are two big ones. So
oh.
if you only have confidence, that leads way more towards ego. If
Hmm.
you also have competence, it keeps you grounded and more modest. So it's important to have both.
Yes.
I think you just described that he had that.
Hmm.
He had both. He was respected as well, especially being a top draft pick. So, what did you learn from him or other teammates in the NFL?
Um, well, I learned from not just him, but other guys and going to different places that you got to put in work. A lot of times kids, um, spectators that's watching the game, you see the finished product. You don't understand what went into getting to that point alone. Like, man, some sweat and tears, some hard times, some coaches getting in your face, cussing you out. You put in a lot of work. You've been there, but people just see the finished product and they think they can do what you've did or what you've done and don't understand that, no, man, I put some work into this and you got to make it happen.
We've been hanging out for a couple hours already. We just
Hmm.
started. This setup and this project is a very similar thing where it's easy to see the final project or the final episode, right? And it's easy to critique because it's a conversation. And I just listened to a recent podcast.
Uh-huh.
It was Chris Williamson and a rapper named Russ.
Okay.
And Chris Williamson describes that it's easy to critique podcasts because it's a conversation. So you're doing this at dinner, you're doing this at lunch, you're doing this with friends. So it's easy to critique.
Yeah.
It's people think it's easy to critique football if they played Pee Wee or high school or maybe college because they have a little bit of experience. It's much harder to critique a heart surgeon because we don't know anything about heart surgery, right?
Yep.
It's harder to critique a firefighter because most people haven't fought fire. You know what I mean? So it's easier to critique things that you have a very little bit of knowledge or experience with. You
Exactly.
can have, of course, a lot of experience having conversations, but it's different knowing that there's cameras on us, there's a microphone, there's all these lights, and it's really just you and me chatting, right? So the
Mhm.
same thing with football, that when there's a lot of eyes on you, a lot of people have played the sport. Very, 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 very few have actually played in the NFL.
Mhm.
So the stakes are much higher, and it changed a lot. You've already described how the game changed from college to the NFL to pro,
Yes.
how money changes things. How did you feel that the game changed for you from high school to college?
You know, I talk with my buddies, my good friend Lewis and Arlington. We talk about how the game changed from, different levels. And believe it or not, it might sound crazy. Some of my hardest, my toughest days, longest practices were high school. In high school, I don't know if coaches just don't care, don't give a dang, but we used to bang it up all the time. We ran and we did everything in high school. The hardest practices I've ever had, any level, was high school. I got to college, now you're playing one side of the ball. I'm just playing offense. And, it's not as much hitting, but it's more mental. So it was a little easier. Then when I got to the league, it's demanding. I mean, it's all mental. You didn't do too much hitting, especially as a prima donna receiver. I never got hit. Just some thudding off. But my hardest days of practicing were high school, and as I went up each level, it was more mental.
Awesome. It's an important lesson for kids to learn now.
Hmm.
And you may have heard me talk about this before. We've chatted before. I talk about it a lot. A lot of people have talked about this. The hardest thing you've ever done
Uh-huh.
is the hardest thing you've ever done. So it's important to set that precedent in high school
Yes.
because if you're able to break molds and grow, college is less intimidating. It feels less hard. It could be way harder. You're stronger, you're faster, you're getting hit harder. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? But if you experience something difficult at a younger age, it primes you and you're prepared.
Yes.
And then college helps you prepare for the NFL. You know, the preseason prepares you for the post or the regular season for the postseason, so on. Um, it's important, right?
Exactly.
So it could be perception because you were 15 in high school
Yep.
and you went to school all day, then you went to practice, you might have had a part-time job, then you're doing schoolwork, you're trying to have a girlfriend, you're trying to have free time, you're playing other sports. It's
Yeah.
really overwhelming. And then you get to college and you're like, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? I've got less classes and you got more help and all that stuff. Now you have
Yeah.
probably more money. So it changes your perspective, right?
Big time.
It's pretty cool.
You know what, Tom? I never thought of it like that. You're right. Gosh, good.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
So firefighting taught me a lot.
Uh-huh.
And, it's easy to compare stress after you've experienced something pretty difficult. So, not to harp on this too much, but when you're dealing with people that are literally living and dying,
Uh-huh.
and houses could be burning down, cars could be getting wrecked, those are high stress situations. If a camera messes up during this interview, or the mic goes out, or we lose power or something, it's not that big of a deal
Uh-huh.
compared to a tough day at the fire department.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can imagine, but I can't really.
Right. But it's just the hardest thing you've ever done. And you've experienced very difficult things that I'm going to save towards the very end.
Mhm.
I've taken some notes. But it's important. I have more notes on baseball because I played baseball in
Ooh.
college. But for baseball, approximately 3% of high school players play college. Approximately 3% of college just make it to the professional level.
Uh-huh.
And then out of that professional level, approximately 3% might make it to the big leagues.
Okay.
These are estimations, so, bear with me. But it's 3% of a 3% of a 3%. It's a very, very small number.
Exactly.
So of everyone that's ever played football, less
Mhm.
than 1% of all people ever make it to the NFL. Less. Because just think of the hundreds of thousands, the millions of kids that play Pee Wee in middle school and high school, the odds of getting to the very, very end is hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can every person be doing right now that those elite athletes in the NFL are doing today?
You got to put in work. You got to put in work. And then what I mean by put in work, you got to take it serious. You not just go out there and just work out and run and catch the ball. No, you got to have it up top mentally. You got to put in work in the classroom. You got to create opportunity for yourself. And, I think a lot of times young men, young women just think that they can get over just by being a great athlete. Yeah, that's half of the battle, but what about the other half? What about what how you deal with people, how people perceive you? And coaches can talk about you and say, hey, well, we want this young person representing our program. So it's a complete package, I think, not just being an athlete, an excellent athlete, but everything else that goes into it. So you got to take it serious. You got to be the well-rounded person. Do it right.
You know the baseball player Yogi Berra,
Oh, heck yes.
right? He's got yogiisms,
Okay.
and he would have these sayings that didn't really make sense, but he would say them, and you knew what he meant.
Yes.
Sometimes they're really funny, and then other times you know what he was trying to say. A yogiism is baseball is 90% mental.
Okay.
The other half is physical. That's 140%.
I was about to say,
for
like,
the
I'm
math
trying
majors
to.
out there, right?
Yeah.
But the gist is most of the game is mental.
Okay.
And he was just insinuating the rest of it is physical, which would only be 10%. But you just described the same thing, that everyone can be putting in the work in the 90% mentality.
Yep.
Very few people have the genetics or just the potential to run, a 4-second 40 or whatever these insane guys are doing. You know what I mean? 4-4 or whatever. But they could have the mentality of Tom Brady if they're an accountant or a lifeguard or any other job, right? They could still have that Brady or that Mamba mentality like Kobe.
Yes.
I'll never be 6 foot whatever height to play in the NBA, but I can treat this like Kobe Bryant would and take it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
So we just talked about getting to the league. Getting to the league is so incredibly difficult. Staying in the league might be harder. It might be, right?
Yes.
You face adversity through trades, cuts, injuries, all sorts of things. How did you handle the adversity and the challenges you faced in the NFL?
Well, I think, and it's probably different, but like when I played, you also have to be lucky. Somebody have to have some kind of faith in you and say, I see something in that guy, or I see something in him. And so, that kind of give you an edge right there that somebody is giving you a chance. And I've been places, Tom, that there were guys on the depth chart lower than me, but were better than me. But for some reason, somebody liked me more, and I stayed around, and I got the opportunity that they should have got. And I'm looking at them getting cut like, holy crap, they just cut so-and-so. And, but so, yeah, physical talent take you a long way, but sometimes it's a little more than that. It's the other inevitables that come into play. So, man, Tom, it's crazy.
Faith.
It's crazy, yes.
And belief. And it's not always your faith and belief. It's that someone has faith or belief in you.
Exactly.
So I know you haven't seen the episode yet,
Mhm.
but for everyone listening, I interviewed Coach Larry Beats. He's a legend in Pasco County. Your episode will come out after his, so go back and check out Larry Beats. He's a legend. He's been coaching 51 years. 51. He retired from the high school that I graduated from.
Okay.
He retired the year I was coming in.
Okay.
So he was at the school like 2 months just to reach his retirement. So I never got to play for him in high school.
Yeah.
But I did get to play with him at Pasco Hernando State College because he moved on to the state college, and I did play with him in college. It's great. Of all these episodes, I've been prepared to get choked up. His was the first episode where I really choked up and cried, thanking him that he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And it was so important where you just described the belief. People could be better than you in playing, people could be worse than you in playing.
Mm-hmm.
It takes someone to believe in you despite talent or anything else,
Exactly.
right? And it was important that he believed in me when I was struggling just to believe myself, like I said. You just elaborated that in the NFL
Mm-hmm.
and every level to that. High school people believed in you. You played at the University of Florida. People believed in you.
Yep.
And eventually you're drafted and you played for numerous teams. And you played beyond that. And we're going to chat about playing in the Euro League and playing arena football too. We'll chat about that in just a minute.
Okay.
What kept you motivated to keep pursuing new roster spots despite being traded or moving teams? What kept you fighting for that?
Knowing that I haven't achieved what I wanted to achieve, and I always felt that I could play at a higher level. I got cut several times, but I just kept believing that no, I still want to play. I'm not finished. And the first time I ever got cut by the Colts, I never forget. I didn't know what to do. Like I couldn't go home because everybody thinking I'm playing ball, and I didn't want to face the embarrassment of saying, "Man, I got cut." So I was at a gym, and a gentleman there that was like the general manager called me over and said, "Hey, man, let me talk to you." I don't want to talk to you. And he was telling me that, man, I used to play professional basketball. I got cut. And he said this, I never forget, almost 40 years ago, he said, man, you can't quit. I'm like thinking, why not? He said, you cannot quit because if you quit and you don't give it your all, later in life, you're going to always question yourself, I could have, or what happened if I would have, or I should have did this. He said, you never want to question yourself or have that in your mind, what you could have done or what you should have done. So do it now while you can and don't have no regrets. So that stuck with me. So every time I got cut, if I thought that I still have a chance to do better, I would go after it.
The beauty of what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
multiple things. But the first one was it wasn't the money, which is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
I played with guys and they were fortunate to go on. I played with guys that, mostly against guys, but I played with a couple guys that were drafted. I played
Yeah.
against several guys that made it to the MLB.
Okay.
Pretty cool. In private, I've talked to some of them, none of the MLB guys, but some guys that were drafted. They admitted, they're like, Tom, they're like, if I wasn't offered this money, I don't know if I would have done it anymore. You know what I mean? Because the game
Yeah.
gets harder and it's draining. And it's draining physically and ultimately mentally too. But it's a beautiful thing that you didn't say you were just pursuing this for the money. It was truly for the love of the game and the belief in yourself and your abilities too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a
Yes.
pretty awesome thing to do. So, what would you say was the hardest part of your NFL journey?
The hardest part, and I talked with my buddy about things. I just think the hardest part for me is that I got to a point that I hate to say it, I kind of lost confidence in myself, after being cut and just not getting the opportunity to play. I don't know if I stopped believing in myself, but it was hard. Like, man, I know I used to be the man. That's what I'm thinking, but I'm not getting this opportunity to do it. So, yeah, I kind of got to a point in my journey where didn't really believe in myself and didn't think that what I had to offer to the game was valuable enough to be on a team. So it got tough for me mentally. That's what I would say. My mental status just kind of slapped me around a little bit and I couldn't get focused to realize, no, man, you still Stacey Simmons. You still the man. I just stopped believing that at a time.
It's arduous. So it was less physical, it was way more mental.
Oh, heck yes.
And that's been reoccurring
yes.
this whole conversation already,
Mhm.
right? So ultimately, you did continue playing.
Yes.
You played in the Euro League
Mm-hmm.
and you played in the Euro League of American football and arena football with the Tampa Bay Storm.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what those experiences were like.
Well, it was a new opportunity at life. I had a buddy that kept pestering me about, no, man, you still can run. You still need to go out and take this opportunity. However, I started teaching at the time, and principal gave me the opportunity, man, go ahead on and give it a try. And I was able to play in the World League of American Football, and it just started getting those juices flowing again. I was like, man, shoot, I still can run. I still got a little bit in me. So it lit that fire again in me, and it just kind of kept me going. That's when I had the opportunity to go back out to LA, and I got cut. But then after that, I still had my job. You know, having a job, Tom, it took off a lot of stress because I went to camps, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, whatever happened here, I still can go back and teach. You know, I still have that waiting on me. So I'm gonna give it my all. I'm not gonna care. I'm just gonna do whatever. And I think that really helped me, you know, just stay relaxed and able to do the things that I wanted to do and not worry. And I went out and played with the Storm for 5 seasons while I taught. And it was just an excellent opportunity. 1 or 2 world championships. So it ended up on a positive note for me. So I
For
can't
sure.
complain.
What were the world championships like?
Oh man, you know, just I never won any kind of championship playing football, but just winning a world championship with the arena football team, it was just like everything that you ever worked for is just like at that moment, it's like, holy smokes, this is what it's like. This is what it feels like to be on that pinnacle and just looking like, man, I worked for this.
Fulfilling,
Yes,
right? Fulfillment.
big time.
How does arena football compare to the NFL?
Well, it's a different game. It's a
For
smaller
sure.
field.
Yeah.
It's a funny question you ask
Yeah.
because I remember a Saturday night before a game when I was with the Indianapolis Colts. Arena football was on, and my roommate and I was watching the game, and we were laughing. Like, arena football? I would never play that. 5 years later, I'm right on that field getting banged around, knocked into the stands, laughing. So it's a different experience, but it's a sharper game, if I could say that, you know, because it just keep you on your P's and Q's and make you work on the very little things that you didn't have to worry about being on a larger field in the big game. So it was fun. It was different. And that experience kind of sharpened, you know, my skills as an overall ball player.
Do you think it felt different because you had the day job of teaching?
I know it was because I didn't worry. I didn't have to think about what I'm gonna do if I get cut. You know what? I didn't even worry. You know, my whole mentality was I don't care. You know, I would say things, I would do things that I would never do 3, 4 years ago because, you know, I was walking on eggshells when what I was doing later in my career, I should have been doing my first 2, 3 years in the league when I didn't know any better.
Sure.
So,
It made the game fun again.
big time.
And
Yes,
it made the
did.
game not about the money, right?
Yeah, in that league, you didn't get that much money, but yes.
Exactly. But that means you didn't have to worry about that. I mean, you
Mhm.
may be worrying if you didn't have the other job. But
Yes.
I think that's the big concern. I understand college athletes should be compensated if all this money's being made off them.
Yes.
But people have to, if they listen to this entire conversation, they hear the complexities that it changes the game, it changes the stress, it changes the motivation, it changes the performance. Where college football it used to strictly be about heart. You weren't making any money, so you're getting tackled into the sidelines rather than just pushing them or running out to avoid the
Mhm.
tackle and stuff like that, right? But it's changing things. I can't get hurt. I got hit this. Sports betting is changing a lot of the game,
Holy crap.
right? So
Yes.
these are just a lot of things that it's very complicated. And I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong. It's just very complex. And as a guy yourself that
Mhm.
played in the NFL, in arena football, you've played at every level. You played Division 1. You know what it's like and how the game changed when money was involved, when money wasn't necessarily important anymore. It really changed a lot. So, you also played in Berlin with the World League in
Mhm.
Europe. What was that like?
Well, at that time, I was with the Orlando Thunder
Mhm.
of the World League, and we played the team over there, and man, Tom, just to travel and experience different things. I talk to students, as I coach, and I can just tell them, like, man, just the opportunities that I had, that we've had, just being an athlete is unbelievable. You get to travel, you get to meet people, and things that you would never have experienced just being in a different country is just amazing.
How did European American football
Mhm.
compare to the NFL?
Well, it was still, I think the NFL was then trying to get their brand, internationally. But the team that was over there were American players. However, they had a few players from over there just to try to get them acclimated to the American football
Mm,
and what was going on. So as you can see today, they play games overseas in the
yeah.
NFL. And I guess back then they were planting that seed. And so hey, it's big time now.
But
Big time.
how did the game compare between competition, the field, the environment?
It's still the same, because I see football is just it's football. You got guys going hard, 100% all the time. So it was still the same game. You had a few players that were new to the game that was trying to understand what was going on, but there wasn't no difference playing from over in the States to over there. It was all the same.
So baseball we talk about a lot. I'm sure it's
Hmm.
in every sport, but we'll talk about like baseball IQ.
Okay.
In the gym, we'll talk about like lifter IQ. And then there's also like lifter age.
Mhm.
So, if you start lifting weights at 60, you're still a new lifter, right?
Yep.
Or if you've been training for 40 years, you know, that's how long you've been training.
Yeah.
So there's obviously life experience, but then there's experience in the sport, and then IQ changes things regarding the sport. So you could be a very elite, let's say, hockey player.
Yes.
That will change if you're playing football because there's a different strategy and the IQ can be different. It's probably still high if you're
Mhm.
excelling in another sport, but it's very different. If you're in Europe, you're not used to American football and these rules. It's different. You're not going to have the IQ or the intuition to be prepared for what's going to happen. It's just different. You haven't played or grown up with it.
And it's little things that they may not know. And like you say, they could be a better athlete, but you just don't know
Yeah.
what I know. So I'm gonna get you every time, all the time, because you don't know. And yeah, you're right. It takes a while to develop that IQ in the sense of for
Of the
football,
sport.
that football IQ, and that's could be the advantage all the time, especially for someone that's didn't grow up playing the game.
Yeah, it's just foreign to them, right?
Hmm.
So instinct is what the game becomes. Where
Yes.
as a lifter, I'll do things, and people will ask me, rightfully so, why'd you do this? How'd you do that? Eventually, you're just doing it. You don't have to
Okay.
think about your breathing. And same thing with catching a football or running routes. You know what I mean? You just
Yep.
know how to transition your weight. You don't really have
Yeah.
to think about it if you're cutting left and right. So you played in several leagues. Which one was your favorite?
By far the NFL. That's the ultimate.
Of course.
That's the ultimate. Yeah.
It feels like a silly question,
Mhm.
but what you just described was how the game changed and your perception changed.
Yes.
So if we're talking about fun, sounds like you had a lot of fun in arena
Oh
football,
yeah.
right?
Most definitely.
But the game changed. You were older. There are different circumstances. So of course the NFL is the pinnacle for football, for American football, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I thought that was a unique question.
No, I think it's a good question because like I formed a lot of friendships, bonds in high school. As a matter of fact, I still talk to a lot of my high school buddies that I played with, a lot of memories. Um, I keep in touch with quite a few of the college guys. Very few guys that I played with in the league that I keep up with or that I've heard from. Is everybody's a few and everybody's a far. So at the lower levels, that is more unity, more a bond. And as we get older, get at a higher level, it kind of faded away.
Again, the uh, the game changes,
I like that.
especially with money,
I
right?
like that. Yes.
You know that I write every week,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've been doing that for a while now. Something I've written about is loyalty can only be measured in blood and sweat. That's it. That's it. Not about money. Money changes everything. People can be paid off if you didn't bleed, and sweat, right?
Yep.
That's why sports athletes are like this. That's why military are so close. That's why law enforcement. That's why fire departments. That's why medical staff. They're so close because they've literally shed blood and sweat in what they're doing. It changes things when you're in corporate America and it's just paycheck.
Hmm.
Okay, what does it take for you to come over to our company? Okay, I'll make it a big bonus. All right, I'll triple the salary. And it's just money, 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 money. But it's different if you've bled and sweat with your guys in the trenches, men and women, that you have that loyalty is completely different. It's completely different. That's why the military is such a tight group. They're being measured in blood and sweat. That's the only. They're not doing it for the money. You're not getting rich from the military, right? Same
Yep.
thing with sports. The reason you're so tight with the high school guys that you played with 30, 40 years ago, or the college guys, you were bleeding and you were sweating, and it was about the game, and it wasn't just about the money.
Yep.
Because once you're making money, I might bleed less. I'm just trying to make the cash. I might sweat less, where I'm just get this over with, right? You know what I mean? You kind of sway the stakes just about the money.
Dang, Tom, that hit me right there. That's an interesting concept that you just said, and it's all true. Because I'm sitting here listening to you like, holy crap. You know, I think about like just we bleed, blood and sweat. And for my brothers and sisters, they're my family. So I'm gonna do whatever I can for my family. But I've been in the trenches with my teammates. Man, we've been hurt together. We out on the field almost about to cry, dying from practice. I go to war with these guys, with my teammates. And I remember just listening to you talk, hearing one of my buddies that played in the league. I don't want to say what team, but he told me that they would have had a dynasty. However, their owner didn't want to pay the guys. So now it wasn't a family. He said, man, we should have won a couple of Super Bowls, but our owner didn't want to pay us. So we started going to where we could make more money. And it wasn't about being a family and loyalty anymore. It was about what we can make and how we're going to pad our future. And it's just hearing you say that, just the blood and sweat, man, it's so true. Because, you my brother on the field, you my brother for life. I'm going to do whatever I can, to protect you and do what I can to help you when I can.
And it counts for family as well, because
Yes.
they are your literal blood,
Hmm.
right? So people have shed and lost family members. So that's why loyalty is also there in family as well. But that's why people refer to brothers as teammates and other people, because
Yes.
they've created that bond through blood and sweat. Like I
Okay.
said, it's money changes things. You could, if you want to call it buying loyalty, it's not true blood and sweat, right?
Yep.
And it's important, and that's why I think it's so important for people to play sports, even just as a kid,
Hmm.
just to have fun, because you'll learn these lessons. It's way harder to learn this if you're not doing something that really challenges you and may test you with,
Yeah.
colleagues or teammates and stuff like that. And it's all sorts of sports. It doesn't have to be this massive team sport. There's a lot of guys on an NFL roster.
Hmm.
You could be playing ping pong, but you're going to learn these things if it's just one on one, of the challenge of competition. You know what I mean? Winning, losing, all sorts of stuff. That if you're not playing sports, you're just not going to get it.
What you know about ping pong?
Very little, very very little. I haven't seen the Timothy Chalamet movie yet,
Okay.
but I will. So ultimately, you became a teacher.
Uh-huh.
What inspired you to be a teacher?
Well, after I got cut my second time, I was home trying to hide from everybody because I was embarrassed that I got cut. And, I just always thought that I was supposed to be in the league, but eventually I realized that it wasn't for me. So I had my mom's friend called, they were recruiting um teachers. And gentleman asked me, would I be interested in teaching? And he caught my attention by saying, you can coach too. And so I was thinking, okay, I'll go out and coach for 1 year because I'll be back in the league the next year. That was my thinking. And 33 years later, I'm still waiting on that call from the NFL to come back. I got stuck, but I enjoyed it and I enjoyed coaching. And just having the opportunity to talk to young men, young women, and just kind of telling them the things that I did that they don't want to do or what they should do or what they could be looking forward to facing, So
What subject did you start teaching?
I started with science.
Gotcha.
It's crazy. Everybody like science. You a PE guy? No, I'm not a PE guy. I took classes in that field, but I've been teaching science 33 years, and I know this, and I really enjoyed being in the classroom because as an athlete, people had a perception or that athletes are just dumb jocks, and I just wanted people to see that no, just because I'm an athlete. No, I'm a dumb jock. I got a lot to offer to society, to you guys, and I want everybody to know that and see that. So I enjoy that, and I enjoy that opportunity to give back to the young folks in our communities.
You've done that for 33 years and counting. You're
Yes.
still going.
Hmm.
So you just described coaching really brought you in. It was
Yes.
that opportunity to be close to the game and also have the opportunity to teach. What did you start coaching right out of league?
Um, I started coaching football and track. I used to go to the high school that I went to, Dunedin High School. Had to give a shout out to them, and do a little come and run in every once in a while when I was home, run with the track team. And I wasn't a coach, but it was just good to go out there and run with the young guys and just kind of stay in shape. But I had that opportunity to come back and coach, and I just kind of did what my coaches did. I didn't know a whole lot about coaching, but just being there, and it's always good as a young guy to kind of relate to the high school players, and they look at me like, "Man, Stacey," and it just was good. And I learned from others, and just watching and just trying to be around, be that guy that can encourage others. So it just kind of took off from there. Got an
And
opportunity to head coach and all. So yeah.
exactly. It's important to ask because I knew everyone's going to assume you went straight to football, but you
Hmm.
had a very successful coaching career with track as well,
Oh, heck
right?
yes.
And we'll
Mhm.
chat about that in a couple minutes. What did you enjoy most about teaching high school?
Just the opportunity, as I look back now, I see just the opportunity to watch kids grow from, goodness gracious, some is it adolescents to their adults now. They have kids that's came through my classroom, and I'm like, holy smoke! Mark was your mom. I mean, Mark was your dad. Heather was your mom, and it's just amazing to see these young kids mature into adults. Some of them you never would believe that they would turn out the way that they turn out, and it's amazing, man. It's beautiful to watch. So I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to be a part of so many young lives and make a difference. If I can, I would like for them to say that, man, coach, you really made a difference. I love your class. I remember this about you. So it's a great feeling to know that I've been a part of so many lives and hopefully change that what they're doing now.
Seeing them grow beyond high school,
Yes.
really fulfilling, right?
Hmm.
Why was it so important that you have taught 33 years in your hometown where you grew up?
This is home. I can relate to the kids or to the area and just kind of let them know, like, yeah, it's things to do, it's places to go besides just here where we grew up or where you're growing up now. It's a whole it's bigger than this little old pond right here, man. The ocean is humongous.
What have students taught you over the years?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, I would say patience, just to be understanding. I realized that being a teacher, you're more than just a teacher. You're a coach, you're a dad, you're a big brother, you're a counselor. Man, Tom, you some everything. And where I'm working at now, as we talked about with your buddy Ham, work with kids that's having all kind of problems and issues, but just being there with them and just that ear so they can talk in and talk to you, it just means a lot to them. So, I always thought that somebody that's older is just there to be a figurehead and a discipline and all. No, man, it's a lot that, as an older person that I can provide to someone that's actually looking and need to hear the things that have experienced. And so I talk a lot about my experiences and yeah, I was your age at one time, so listen. I mean, I know you don't want to, but you're gonna get old. Just keep living.
Believe it or not, right? When
Exactly.
they're kids, they don't want to believe that, you know, they're going to be 50, 50, 60 beyond.
Exactly.
So what you just said is unique. As a teacher,
Hmm.
that's oftentimes the first title. But I often hear therapist, right, as another title. But you really quickly said dad.
Hmm.
And I think, did you say brother too?
Yep.
Did you say older brother?
You everything, because you're dealing with all walks of life and you never know what you're gonna have to be. I realized that I become a chameleon and because I want young men, young women to feel comfortable with me where they can to talk. I what's the word? Try to establish relationships. And I think I'm pretty good with that because I'm easygoing and I want everybody to feel comfortable. I want everybody to be happy. And I want everybody to have a good experience with me in general. So I think that's why, I got into teaching. I may not be the best teacher in what my subject is, but I'm really good at just building relationships with young people and just trying to encourage them to do better. Just try to show them by example how to be a better person.
It's important,
Always.
right?
Hmm.
How did professional football make you a better teacher?
Just that experience alone, of just having the opportunity. I talk to a lot of kids, or a lot of kids make the assumption that, man, you only played a year and a half, man, you were sorry. And in my mind, I'm thinking, they don't know. They just, and kids going to just tell you what's on their mind and just say anything. But I'm thinking, man, you just don't realize if you can do half of the things that I've done, come and talk to me. That's what I want to say.
I
But,
know.
you know, they're young. They don't understand that, man, it's a struggle out there. It's 100, 200 other guys just as good, if not better than me. And I'm fighting blood stress, scratching, just try to get there. So a lot of times people don't understand what it takes to get there. And so I, in a humble way, I try to let them know that, no, man, it's real out there. It's a lot of people, it's a lot of talent, and I'm not the best person. Yeah, you may think that I'm one of the top guys, but it's always somebody, a bigger and better dog around the corner.
And it's what we talked about earlier. If you have a little bit of experience
Hmm.
playing Pee Wee football, you think it's easy to critique a guy that made four different NFL teams, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And it doesn't matter if it's camps, preseason. It doesn't matter. You're to make it to that level is so difficult. But if you played seventh grade middle school football, you think you know. Oh, if I kept trying, and people have this
Exactly.
crazy, crazy expectation, this weird ego, right? So, what made the biggest impact on you as a teacher?
Um, the biggest impact on me as a teacher, dude, man, just to see kids that I don't know. I think that's a good question, and it make me think about it because I've seen students come in and they see me, and it's like, man, it's a black man, an African American man teaching science, and and I think it's more of an inspiration for kids that look like me and to know that they have an opportunity, like just no man, just you got many more opportunities than just playing sports or thinking you can be a rapper or just doing some things that is not conventional. No man, it all starts here in the classroom. I'm a prime example of that. Just take your opportunities and run with it. Don't just squander everything that you have away. No. go after it, go get it. You know, so I learned that I can be an example, especially to those that look like me, because a lot of times, we don't have those role models that they look up to. So yeah, I've learned that just being there and being available for those to show them that opportunity is possible and it's real.
You just made a really good point. Opportunity should be equal. And I know that's been a fight for a very long time.
Mhm.
Truly make it equal for everyone. Describe more about how do kids approach you about you may be a teacher they didn't expect in science, like you just described. Does that happen often?
Um, Not so often that they say that, but I can tell, they just not expecting. And, 'cause, I'm a black man, and a lot of times I talk a lot of sports, or I make a lot of analogies, especially in science that's sport related, or just real world analogies, just so everybody understands. But since I was an athlete, I make a lot of analogies with sports, just trying to explain a concept or maybe a theory. And then they're like, oh, okay. But I want people or the students to just to understand that, oh man, yeah, coach is all right. And everybody call me coach, even though I'm in the classroom, but I want them to see me as, man, I can do that too. It's just not about being in front of the camera trying to rap or trying to play football, baseball, basketball, but just using your head, just being an intellect, just taking advantage of those opportunities.
Of course.
Mhm.
Did you have teachers that inspired you?
I, I had a teacher. It's a lot of teachers in my neighborhood that I grew up with. My one of my good friends, his dad was a teacher and then an administrator. I have an aunt that was a teacher. Um, but my high school track coach was really influenced me a lot. Just to see again, black males just growing up. I grew up with my mom and dad, but just in the high school, I had three teachers, that were black men, and one of them was my track coach, and he was a psychology major, psychology guy. And man, just the stuff that he used to say and tell me, and just help me build my confidence, especially as a track athlete, is just really amazing. Now that I think about it, years later, he was the man. Shout out to Coach Lightfoot too. Yeah, that's who we were
Awesome.
talking about.
He's still
Yes.
around?
Oh, still around, still teaching
Oh
at the
man.
college level.
Oh, I got to meet him.
Yes, one of the best coaches that I ever had. That's what I patterned my whole coaching career off of him. The things that I learned from him, just the things that he taught, and just psychology guy.
Of course.
He used to tell me things. When I was young, I didn't kind of believe in myself. I knew I could run, and he used to tell me things like, "Man, Stacey, you did this and that." And when I think about it later, he had to do that just to make me believe and understand that no, you got it. You just have to believe in yourself so that you'll always know that you are the man. So
That's beautiful. Can you connect me with him after this?
heck
I'd love
yes.
love to chat with him.
Heck
He
yes.
sounds like the man. That's awesome. You've been not just teaching,
Hmm.
not just coaching for 30 plus years. You've also been refereeing for almost the same amount of time.
Hmm.
You dedicate so much time, energy, effort into the community, and especially youth sports and just the children in general. Describe how important it is that you give back and give it's I mean, my both my parents are teachers.
Hmm.
They give so much time in the classroom. So many teachers go above and beyond that. They're also coaching.
Hmm.
They're also volunteering to show up at prom and homecoming and all these after school activities. You do that and you referee for different leagues, different sports. Tell me about that.
I think that it's just something that I've always done. I always wanted to stay busy, always wanted to be a part of something. and more of something is more sport related. Um, I started playing intramural football or flag football, adult league, and never forget I'm out there and I still was had that competitiveness in me. And a official I thought made a bad call. So I know I back then I was young, probably my second year teaching, and I was fussing at the official, telling him that he sucked and all. And this guy was a smart
Gentlemen.
tail, yeah. And he told me, "You think you can do better? You come out here tomorrow and you get a jersey and referee." So I was like, okay. Next day I showed up just to call his bluff. And he was looking at me like, I got him. 33 years, or 30 years later, I'm still officiating, and he sucked me in. And I never forget just that challenge. He told me, "You think you can do better? You come out here tomorrow." And I love the game of officiating. I love coaching because, yeah, I can't play anymore. I can't run, but just being that part of the game, I'm able to, you know, I don't know if I want to say patrol or just be out there to make sure the game is played fairly. Everybody's abiding by the rules and we're protecting the players' safety. Just make me feel just as good as I did coaching. So that's why I do a lot of officiating and just want to be around in that aspect of the game and move away from the coaching as much.
How many sports do you officiate?
For
4, name
Yep,
them.
I do football to basketball. Um, well, flag football, softball, and now I'm a track official. So I guess 5.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I gotta say, Tom, I gotta apologize to my wife and my family because I take a lot of time away from them. And it's I I love it, but guys, you gotta give back to your family and you gotta make sure that you put some time and effort into them. Now, they understand and they work with me, but yeah, I need to do better with giving back to them.
Sure. I think what makes it easier to digest is
Mhm.
that you're ultimately investing in the community.
Yes.
Very different if you're going to do something just for yourself, especially if it's to your detriment, right? But this is a
Mhm.
very positive thing. You're being a role model, you're being an inspiration, you're teaching kids, you're helping keeping them safe, and you're teaching them lessons that they're going to take beyond the game that they're playing.
Yes.
So, of the 4 or 5 sports that you now officiate, they're pretty different. From tackle football to flag football, the
Mm.
game changed a lot.
Yes.
Going from boys sports to softball changes a lot. Track's a different beast in itself. Which sport is your favorite to officiate?
Um, well, eh, I I'm comfortable, extremely comfortable with football. 'Cause that's what I've done all my life.
Be expected, right?
Yes, I know track and field. However, track can be long, a long day for a track meet. So I enjoy track, but I don't know if it's at the top of my list. I really like softball because it's a change of pace and girls really get it done. They get in, no games played, and they get it done. I think though flag football might be one of the best because it's growing. Um, Girls, young ladies now they have it in college, and it's pretty cool sport. I like the flag football. It's not as demanding in a sense of being out on the field for a few hours. No, it's a quick game and they get it done. So I really like flag football. However, I'm comfortable with the regular football and I enjoy basketball and softball. So we'll say the footballs are my favorite.
For sure. And
Yes.
that could definitely be expected, right?
Mhm.
So, what I love about asking questions like this,
Uh-huh.
everyone's going to expect you to say the NFL. Everyone's going to expect you to say football, but they
Yes.
may not anticipate you really love flag football or you actually enjoy the challenge of a sport that you have less time with, like
Mhm.
softball or maybe even track, right?
Yes.
Which sport is the most challenging to officiate?
Um, for me, I think basketball, and the reason why because I never played organized basketball growing up. I played baseball in high school, and I understand, the baseball and softball, but basketball I still struggle with. I'm still learning. Although I've been officiating quite a bit, I still struggle because I never played it, so I don't have that exact feel for the game.
That IQ
Exactly,
that we
yeah.
talked about a bit
That
ago,
basketball
right?
IQ.
It changes if you play the game. It
Mhm.
just changes. I've never played hockey.
Okay.
Never. I would be terrible at hockey. I'm terrible at basketball. I meant to tell you this the other day. I'm so bad at basketball, my friends stop inviting me to play. So
That's bad.
it's bad.
Yeah.
You would think I just never played sports when you give me a basketball. It's that bad. I lose it all. So Chandler, Justin, Chris, my friends listening, I get it. Because then I hear these stories
Yeah.
of them talking about playing at the rec, playing here, playing that. I'm like, I don't remember these
Yeah.
stories.
Where was
And
I?
I wasn't invited. That's how bad I am. Because we would show up to the rec center, and this was like after high school.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I was working out a lot. And that's intimidating on the basketball court. I don't know why. You know what I mean? I'm not tall. I'm not fast. I'm short. This is not tall. So I don't know why that matters. You know what I mean? I was terrible at basketball. So it's just funny. I've got very few stories of playing basketball just really bad. But
Most. I'm sorry to take you off.
so
What position you played in baseball?
baseball is a catcher.
Okay.
Yep. The shortest guy in the field.
Gosh. Okay.
So yeah, so I've talked about this a little bit before, but I got into catching originally because I thought the glove looked really cool. Because
For real?
for sure, yeah, for real. So because back in the day, I mean, even now, I mean, the price of things are just insane. I
Uh-huh.
couldn't afford a Wilson A2000 A2K. I couldn't afford a Rawlings Pro Preferred. Back in the day, they had a glove called a Primo, just
Uh-huh.
this very expensive $400, $500, $600 for a glove. I couldn't afford that. So a lot of my friends and teammates, they all have these Gucci gloves, these $400 gloves. We're
Yeah.
like 9. And I'm like, well, if I could have a unique glove and spend my first glove, I think it was $80. It was an Easton Black Magic catcher's mitt. And my dad said, whatever money you save, I'll match it. And as a young kid, we would roll quarters, nickels, dimes. We'd
Yeah.
roll them all up. And I remember rolling up, I'm pretty sure I had $40 in rolled quarters. My dad matched me, and we went to Sports Authority
Okay.
long ago, right? I
Yeah.
don't
I
even know if
remember
they're
Sports
around anymore,
Authority.
right?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I bought an Easton Black Magic catcher's mitt, and I thought it was the coolest thing. No one else has my glove. I couldn't afford a Wilson A2K, right? So that's how I really got into it. I also loved catching.
I was gonna ask you
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and my dad taught me from a young age. He's like, if you really, really, really want to play the game, if you excel at catching, that could be your way in. Because I don't think my dad was telling myself as a 9-year-old that I'm probably not going to be 6'5", right? You know what I mean? But if you're catching, I know the game's definitely evolved. You look at these catchers like Joe Mauer
Uh-huh.
and Salvador Perez. These guys are in the big leagues. They're massive.
Yes.
They're huge, huge guys. And then it's easy that now that you've got a big bat, they could ultimately move to first base and they can really play any position, but they put him behind the plate. Back in the day, Yogi Berra, I think he was like 5'7", 5'6". He's like this tiny little guy, right? It's much harder today, but the merit still stands that the shorter guys typically throw them behind the plate.
Okay.
I'm not expected to be a fast runner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Squatting, your legs, the fatigue and all that stuff. But ultimately, yeah, I caught. And I really enjoyed it. I excelled at it. Like I said, I've interviewed Coach Larry Beats, and I didn't get to play with him too much. I played with him in college, and I was already catching for a long time. My high school coaches would say how stubborn I was. And I had a signing, and I'm sure you did as well when you signed for college. We'll chat about that in a bit. That I had a signing. I gave like a little speech thing, thanking my guys, my parents, my sister,
Yep.
my coaches. And my coach, Julius Matos, who played in the MLB, he gave a speech about me. And he compared me to marble, the rock,
Oh,
the stone.
okay. That's all I was like, oh.
And he said, marble is extremely hard to work with. Right? And ultimately, it was a beautiful compliment because he said, despite being extremely hard to work with, over time and effort, energy, you're able to create something beautiful and long lasting.
Yeah.
And it was a very beautiful compliment. I'm very grateful for the lessons he's taught me. And a lesson that I haven't written about yet in a weekly post that he taught me at a young age was he played in the MLB. He played for the Padres, the Blue Jays, and other teams, the Royals. The game didn't miss him when he was gone. Because when you're in the MLB, when you're in the NFL, NBA, PJ, whatever,
Yes.
you think you're the man. You believe you're the man, and
Yep.
you may be. Sometimes you think you're bigger than the game. But the day comes for all of us where you have to hang up the cleats or the gloves or the shoes or whatever.
Yep.
And the game keeps going on without you. And the game doesn't always miss you. Seldomly, if ever, will the game ever miss one of us.
Exactly.
Right? And it's an important lesson that he taught me in high school. He taught all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a little bit about me playing. And it really molded me because eventually after college, after I was done playing baseball in college, I was the one that hung up the cleats. I decided I didn't want to keep pursuing this anymore. And ultimately, I just kind of fell into powerlifting. I was motivated. I was in the gym. I was spending all this time. Being so stubborn and difficult to work with
Yes.
as a high school player. And I wasn't rude or rebellious, but it was just so hard to change my, I was open to learn,
Yep.
but I was slow to change or accept, where I was like, I really think this is the better way. And I'm not listening to the guy that played how many years of professional baseball.
Yeah.
Looking back, I'm like, oh my God, just shut up and listen, right? Because my perspectives changed so much. People that know me now, and people are going to continue to learn about me through the podcast and stuff.
Yep.
And a lot of my friends from the gym and the powerlifting world listen to me and the show.
Yeah.
They know me from powerlifting. I'm like a completely different athlete later in life. And you kind of described it earlier how you had this mindset in high school, college, and the beginning of the NFL.
Yeah.
Just 5 years later, after that NFL experience in arena football, you had a completely different
Yep.
perspective. You played the game differently, you treated it differently. I'm sure you trained differently,
Yep.
and you ultimately had a different experience, whether it was more fun or whatnot. I had the same thing where it's like I was so hard on myself. Baseball, 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 trying to get to this college, try to get to this league, try to get drafted, so on and so forth. And I was very stubborn. It was hard to go through that process. After I hung up the cleats, I I don't know. I may have gone from marble to something really soft,
Putty.
maybe putty, right? And what I mean by that was I became so much more open minded.
Okay.
Where now I was malleable, where I would just an interview that came out before this one. It was with Andrew Yerkedu.
Uh-huh.
He's a very successful powerlifter. He's an attorney. He's a lawyer.
Okay, I remember
That came out recently. I talked to him where I would just watch these super talented lifters in the gym. I'm
Okay.
talking world champions, some of the best, Rich Fika, Jen Rotzinger, and some other lifters. I would just watch them lift. And rather than being stubborn and think I knew anything, I would just watch how they're doing it and just learn without even talking.
Okay.
And I think that's really important for more and more people to do, where someone knows more than you. A lot of people know more than you. If we listen twice as much as we speak, because
Yep.
we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's a pretty common saying, we can learn a lot more. And ultimately, the struggles I had in baseball made me a much better powerlifter,
Okay.
made me a much better fireman, made me a much better EMT. And now it's making me better in my newest pursuits,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was quite a tangent. But privately, you and I have chatted several times before this.
Oh yeah.
You told me baseball, was it your favorite sport?
Yeah, it used to be my
It was your
my
favorite
sport. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the sport I started. And back in the day, and
Sure.
that was a long day ago, everybody in my neighborhood played baseball. We played every sport, and we played organized baseball. And I was actually pretty good. I don't say, I never really talk about, what I did as an athlete, especially when I was younger. But yeah, I was actually pretty good. And I had an opportunity to play college baseball, I never forget, I went out and practiced for a week, with the baseball team
At UF?
at UF.
Really?
That was part of my whole deal of going to school. I went to visit these colleges and I met with the football team, met with the baseball coach, and I met with the track. Did 3 sports. And so the big thing, and Bobby Bowden, I love Bobby Bowden, bless his heart, bless his soul. He gave me the option, Stacey, you can play football, run track, you can play football and play baseball. It's your choice. And then he sweetened the deal by saying, you'll be able to play with Deion Sanders. Deion was a year older than me. So I was like, oh man, play baseball with Deion Sanders and football. However, I went to Florida, as you all know, and I went out and played baseball for a week. Right before Christmas break, I never forget, I was doing batting practice. Just the coach and I and some of the guys from track were walking past, and they say, hey man, I thought you were going to run track. And I said, I'll come by after I do the batting practice. I went by and I saw something that I've never seen in my life before, running track. They were out there having fun. Like, you see the girls over there and the guys, and I mean, it just looked fun. I'm like, dang, it look like they're having fun. And I never forget, Tom, I went home for Christmas break, came back. I went to the baseball coach office, Coach Arnold, and said, Coach, I'm not going to play baseball. He was looking at me like, why? Why? I said, you play too many games. What an excuse. And then I told him the ultimate lie and said, um, and I'm not doing well in school. I had to think of something. And just karma was my worst semester. Just for being dishonest, I had my worst semester ever that year, that semester. And it bit me on the butt.
Huh. I would have never guessed. It was that what's influenced you.
Oh yeah, and then you look back and say, man, I wonder what it would have been like.
Sure.
But I had fun doing track, and it helped me with my football career. Just being able to run efficiently, and yeah, I just wonder. Yeah, but baseball was my sport.
Yeah. What position did you play?
I was a center fielder.
Awesome.
Started off in the infield
Yeah.
till I got caught a quick hopper in the chin.
Also, I think you're too fast that they would be wasting your talent
There you go.
to not put you where you could be running, right?
I'm gonna go with that too.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really neat. So you ran track.
Yes.
You excelled extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
You won 2 state championships
Yes.
in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I have it written down. You ran 100-yard.
Yep.
Was it 200-yard?
220 yards.
And 400.
Yes.
Right?
440. Yes.
And back in the day, wasn't it yards, not meters?
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And describe why that's important.
And I like to say that I was the state of Florida's last 100-yard dash champion. And people looking at me like, yards? Yeah, we used to run in yards. And like with the
metric system.
The metric system. And they were saying, we're going to go into 100 meters my senior year. And then it just kept progressively got to each event. To now everything is in meters and kilograms. And so it was a big deal, like 100 yards, because people couldn't see. I'm like, that's just a football field. Just think of end zone to end zone.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, okay, because everybody think of meters now.
Exactly.
And it's just 10 yards longer for the 100 meters from a football field. So, yeah, I was pretty fast. You know what? When people think of me and they hear my name, first thing come to mind is that, man, Stacey was fast. I guess I was really fast, and that was a blessing to me, and it just helped me with a lot of things, helped me with a lot of opportunities. So.
What were some of your times?
High school, I probably ran my fastest times up. I ran 10.03 in the 100 meters. And be honest with you, I got through college and all, and I never ran faster. My fastest times in high school. And they were fast times, but, like going to the Olympic level, guys started running 9.9, 10 flat. And I was good, but on that International level,
It becomes a game of inches, or in the metric system, centimeters, millimeters,
yes,
right?
big time.
Because you told me previously that you did have aspirations for the Olympic level.
Yeah.
Was it that you just quickly realized to get that sharper, it may not be possible?
Well, as a young kid, I, I realized that I could run, and I had a sister that was probably my first agent. She used to boost me up and tell me I could run, and I believed in it. And then, just growing up, I was really fast, and yes, I did have aspirations, even dreams of, man, I can run in the Olympics. And not until I got to college and I started playing ball and seeing guys that played in front of me have opportunities to go to the NFL. And then you see these scouts come around and say, man, such and such, you played behind last year. He's in the league now. You're gonna have opportunities. So my shift of running was more, no, I got opportunity to play football and I got that opportunity. That's more real than just running track. And then track wasn't making a lot of money. It wasn't a big thing. I mean, it was big sport, but no money involved in track.
Sure. And I'm sure that played a role
Big time.
of your times from high school to college.
Hmm.
If you spent the same amount of time just running rather than juggling, possibly playing baseball, also playing football, that changes a lot as well. Because
Yes,
you played 4 years at the University of Florida.
exactly.
Tell me what that experience was like.
It was great. I came in as a high school All-American running back. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna be the man running back. And little did I know that Florida signed 5 other running backs, and we all came in at the same time, looking around at each other like, "You here? You're a running back? I'm a running back." And just made me realize that, man, I thought I was the best. It's other guys from around that's just as good, if not better than me. So that's where, if you're not prepared and mentally strong, you can kind of fall between the cracks and get lost in what's going on because you worried about this other guy that's an All-American from Ohio and somebody else from California. So you just have to be mentally tough and know. And so I didn't get to play running back as much. I think I played one game at the beginning of the year, and I was asked to move to receiver to help out the receivers my freshman year, and I kind of rejected it, but I went over and did it. So I got to play quite a bit as a freshman. Didn't know what I was doing as a receiver. I could run, and it worked out for me. The next year, going into spring, like, man, you could be the starting receiver. I was like, nah, I'm going back to running back. Then for some reason, we signed this guy named Emmett Smith to
Never heard of him.
never heard of him, to the University of Florida. So I saw the writing on the wall. Man, you never gonna play running back. And you starting that receiver, why mess with that? And it worked out for me. It was a difficult transition, just watching Emmett kick booty
Yeah,
and like, man, I wonder what it would have been like. But it wasn't meant for me. That's what I accepted, and
exactly.
and I had a good time at receiver, and I learned a lot, and had opportunity to play in the league and play everywhere else. So
Exactly.
it worked out pretty good for me.
How well did the University of Florida prepare you to play in the NFL?
Excellent question. As a matter of fact, that's the question I ask all the time to like on my
Other players.
yep, and I do my podcast, and I ask, do I feel like I was prepared? Yes and no. And I say yes timidly because then we were so engrossed in just everything was about the football team. We lived amongst each other. We stayed in a dorm. We did everything together. We had our own dining hall. It was inclusive just for the football team. So I talked with one of my daughters about her experience in college, and I was envious of her experience because she got to experience life as a college student, and I experienced life as a football player. It was everything was football. I didn't get to do things on campus, be involved with the student body. My my experience was limited to just that. Yes, I got a degree. I had the opportunity to go to school for free, but I, in a sense, missed out on a lot of things that I think just a normal student had the opportunity to get. I learned a lot of life lessons, just being tough, disciplined, being a team player. However, I think I missed out on a few other things that could have just well-rounded me.
for life.
Yes.
Extremely important, especially how you noted that with the athletes, a lot of times you're only around the athletes.
Yes.
It could be seldom that you're with other students. So you just talked a lot about how certain life lessons you may not have experienced in college that a lot of other college students get to have.
Yep.
Regarding football, how did the University of Florida football team and that level and that experience prepare you for the NFL?
Um, we had a pro offense, and again, it's 50-50 because I was in an offense that I was kind of frustrated my senior year because we had the top running back, future NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith, so we ran the ball a lot. And for a receiver, you don't want to see that because nowadays these kids are coming out of college prepared for the NFL. In a sense, I wasn't really ready as a wide receiver because I did a lot of blocking. I even ran the ball more as a wide receiver um, than I caught passes. So the transition was eye opening for me. I went in eyes wide open, trying to learn, trying to understand what was going on and what was really happening. And I see the kids nowadays are going into the league just head over heels, knowing what's going on, understanding terminology. They're well prepared. So yeah, half and half. I
Yeah,
had a lot to learn, and
I understand.
mhm.
Teammates change a lot because
Yes.
with Emmett Smith on the team,
Mhm.
that changes how the game's going to be played
Yep.
regarding running, throwing, passing, the whole nine, right? So
Yes.
that's a really unique thing to describe because 2 years later, guys behind you could have a different experience because Emmett Smith would have graduated and now you got to play the game differently. So then passing could be back, you know. So it's a very unique experience that you have in that specific time,
Yes.
right? There's only that little window where you and him were this close to each other, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's pretty cool. And that's unique. And I don't think many players realize that while they're in the game, especially at such a young level. So, like I said, I played some of my teammates were able to get drafted and go on and play
Yeah.
beyond high school and college, right? Um, some of those guys that were getting looked at, they would scouts would come for them and then notice other people. And that's how a lot of guys get picked up. And it's ultimately about maturing to the highest level. You don't want to be the biggest dog in little league because
Yeah.
then you may never mature beyond that. So if they're able to see that potential you in high school and they notice you just because they're scouting you and they notice me, I may
Mhm.
be able to mature and be the man at 22, 23 rather than at 15 or 16 or whatever, right?
Exactly.
It's pretty neat. Pretty cool that you said that.
Mhm.
What could you teach players today listening to this right now about
Mhm.
your experience working with a player like Emmett Smith and playing Division I football at the University of Florida?
Well, you know what I couldn't see, and a lot of times I think young athletes can't see. A lot of times coaches, we've been around for a while and coaches been there. And if you listen to them, like we said before, like sometimes we just too stubborn or hard headed to see what they can see. And they've been there before. We never think of our parents or older people they were young at one time. No, they have experience. That's why they say keep living. And they see things like I was talking with my buddy. Coach is like, man, I think you should play linebacker. And no, coach, I'm a safety. No, they see this. They seen players before, just like you, that went on and had much success on a higher level. So a lot of times their experience is not to hurt you, but just to help you out. Just kind of sometimes have to trust and just believe in the process.
Aptitude.
There we go.
They see the aptitude
Yes.
of, you know, coach is noticing me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tom, probably not going to be a good center fielder, right? Uh, I did not have what it took to be an outfielder, right? Behind the plate, I had much higher aptitude, way more potential
Okay.
to perform, right? And that's really important.
Yes.
Easy in basketball. This guy's too tall to play, or not, excuse me, this guy's too short to play this position. You know, you got to be taller, this, that, whatever. Same thing with every sport. Um, you've learned a lot of lessons
Mm-hmm.
at the University of Florida. You've already noted several. If you were to name one most important lesson that you learned playing Division One football, what would it be?
I'm never gonna quit. You know, I had a career-ending knee injury back then in '88, having the best season career in my life. After 5 games, I tore my ACL, and at that time, um, there were several athletes that didn't come back from that. But in my mind, no, man, I came too far. I worked hard and just instilled in me, I wasn't going to quit. As a matter of fact, 5 months later, I ran in the Southeastern Conference outdoor track and field meet, and people were looking at me like, you got to be kidding me. No, I came back stronger, faster, because I just believe that I can do it. So talking to young folks, man, don't let nobody stop you. Nobody can tell you where your limit is, It's up above the roof. It's no ceiling.
Yeah, as high as you could reach,
Exactly.
right? It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a professor or staff that left an impact on you from the University of Florida?
My main man, Tom Williams. I did my first podcast. He was my first podcast guest. And Tom Williams is an academic advisor. He was assistant athletic director at the University of Florida. And his job primarily was to make sure me, any other student athletes that came in there graduated. And that was his job. He stayed on top of us like white on rice. And I love Tom Williams for that. Yes.
Big mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like he mentored you more in life
Yes.
than it was just academics, right?
Yep.
And that's a characteristic that a lot of teachers embody. But I don't think enough people realize that you can be that person in anyone's life, whether you're a teacher or a coach or a parent. You could just be that positive influence and that belief in someone to do whatever it is, right?
Yep.
Whether it's to produce music or to play a sport or to be an accountant or to be a nurse or anything else, right? It's really important. You've had a lot of cool teammates. What was something that you learned from teammates at the University of Florida?
Oh man. Now, like in retrospect, I can see things I couldn't see back then. But I realize, and what I see now is that guys that I played ball with, went to school with, that man, that's a forever bond. Like we had a classmate that recently passed, and just all of my teammates, they now we kind of contact each other all in group texts and how you doing, everybody doing, we need to get together, and just like realizing like, man, we all had a common bond at one time that just made us family for life. So, like once a brother, you always a brother. Once a part of a common cause, man, we in a brotherhood for life.
Blood and sweat.
Yes. Blood and sweat.
What it takes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite memory of playing at Florida?
Ooh. A lot of good memories there. Um, and my favorite. I always hate the term favorite because it's hard for me to pinpoint just one.
What's a memory that is easiest comes to mind playing at UF?
Man, just winning. I played in a game my freshman year against Auburn, and Auburn was like really ranked, and I was in on the last play, like when we scored, just to go ahead, score. And man, just to be in front of like 80,000 people, and I'm in the stands, I'm not in the stands, but I'm on the field just going crazy, beating up the quarterback as he ran into the end zone. And man, it just, that's something I can still picture that moment like it was yesterday. That was 40 years ago almost. And I can remember it just, I can smell it. Dang, Moshe, I can smell it. But that was a really good memory. We beaten Auburn at home on the field right down the end zone. Few minutes, seconds left in the game. Still smell it. Mm.
Awesome.
Yes.
Beyond sports, you've faced adversity, challenges way beyond athletics. I learned you were diagnosed at the age of 13 with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
And later in life, you were diagnosed with a brain tumor years later.
You did some research. Oh.
I did. Type 1 diabetes
Mhm.
is, for those listening, most people should learn at this point that type 1 you're born with, right?
Mhm.
You didn't find out till you were 13. A lot of times people can get diagnosed earlier than that, right?
Yes.
How did that affect you before the diagnosis? And ultimately, how did that affect you as an athlete? You're able to perform at such a high level. Describe what that was like.
Man, Tom, it was a struggle, because I was at that time just starting to come into my own and become Stacey Simmons, that young kid that can run, that was a really good baseball player, um, playing football. And I struggled like really for a long time, just understanding how to take care of myself properly and the right things to do. And I even think today that it hurt me a lot because I didn't know what I was doing while I was playing. I had a lot of help that brought me along during the years, and thank God for, the doctors and trainers at the University of Florida and at different places that I've been because I man, Tom, I don't know. Without them, I mean, just them and the blessing of God, I would have been through dealing. And and I made it through. It was tough, but it's getting easier now. I'm understanding after 45 years, understanding what I'm working with, what's the consequences of, doing things that I'm not supposed to do or things that I've done in the past that I shouldn't have been doing. So I'm learning. And it's a continued process.
It's neat that you described how did the University of Florida help you as a type 1 diabetic in their athletic program?
Well, before, during the time then, they used to go through recruitment. I didn't want people to know. I remember my mom, we don't let people know that you're a diabetic, if that's going to cause a problem with you getting a scholarship. So we didn't talk about it that much. But my high school coaches knew, and I used to cramp every game. I would always cramp fourth quarter. And so, what's wrong with him? Why is he cramping so much? And one, I didn't understand how to properly take care of myself. And two, it took a while for me to get acclimated to being an athlete and being a diabetic. It was tough, but we got through it, and I got to Florida, and they took me to the doctor every week, a couple of times a week. I went and saw an endocrinologist, and then I started learning, and they try to play around with meal times. I used to eat 30 minutes before the game just so I can stabilize my blood sugar. So a lot of trial and error, they worked with me big time, and they put the ball in my pocket. So they made it easier for me than I would have done if I would have had to deal with it by myself.
Wow. That's
Yes.
awesome to hear. That's
Yes.
really reassuring. My sister went to the University of Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yep, go Gators. And I always said that that was going to be my backup plan.
Uh-huh.
I always said that. Ultimately, I never applied.
No?
I played baseball at Paso Hernando State College.
Okay.
Then I pursued this and I pursued that. And then when it was ultimately time, I went back and I finished my 4-year degree. Um, I stayed local so I could pursue different things,
Okay.
eventually firefighting and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I never even applied to the University of Florida.
Oh,
But
man.
I always saw that as an outlet of a place that I could go.
Yeah.
My sister had a enjoyable time. She was not on the football team. Uh, but it's really cool to know how they take care of the athletes that well. Even I know today's almost the assumption, but
Yes.
to know this 40 years ago, that they're taking the doctors, they're taking a specialist, and they want what's best for you just to be healthy. It wasn't just about you performing on the field,
Mhm.
right? Um, it sounds like they went above and beyond.
Oh, man, they took care of me. You
That's
know,
awesome.
it's crazy that you say that because back then, if I had a low blood sugar and the way to help that and to bring your blood sugar up, you would need some glucose. And my form of glucose was Lifesavers. I always kept a pack of Lifesavers with me. So they bought packs of Lifesavers, kept them in the training room. So you would see guys walking out the training room eating Lifesavers, popping them in their mouth. And the trainer used to go crazy. Who's eating Stacy's Lifesavers?
Yeah.
But it was just the thing. It was a joke with everybody because they
Yeah.
thought it was just for them. But no, it was actually medical for me to
It was
have those
to
Lifesavers.
save your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's awesome. What has being a type 1 diabetic taught you over 45 years? What has it taught you?
Oh man, you know you need to be persistent in taking care of yourself. And I should say this. My mom used to always say, your health is your wealth, son. Your health is your wealth. Yeah, I hear, her, but I didn't understand that until 6, 7 years ago. 'Cause, you know, I always been an athlete. Now I had some dark times as a diabetic, and now it's hitting me. You know, my mom isn't around anymore, but now I understand. Holy crap! If I can't walk, if I can't run, if I can't get out on the field, I can't do nothing that I'm accustomed to doing. Nothing that I do to make money for myself to support my family. So your health, guys, is your wealth. That sums it up. Just think about it. I don't want nobody to be able to do things for me. I want to do for myself. So your health is your wealth. I love that saying.
Did you encounter other players, other athletes that were type 1 diabetics?
Um, no, not when I played. And I've it was a player in the league before me, a tight end, Jonathan Hayes. I used to read about his story, and I never met him. And I know Catfish Hunter was a diabetic. You know, it wasn't a whole lot of diabetics around that played professional ball, and it could have been, but I didn't know
It's one of those
that
things
many.
that wasn't public
Exactly.
40 years ago, right?
Hmm.
And even now, I'm trying to think of other athletes,
Shoot,
right?
I do a camp every year with Sam Fold. Remember Sam? So every year we do a camp.
Is he diabetic?
Yes, type 1
Okay. I
diabetic.
didn't know that.
And he brings us in every year in February, the same weekend of the Super Bowl. And we do a sports camp with all these young kids as athletes, just encourage them that no, diabetes isn't a death sentence. And you control it. It don't control you, you control it. And all these guys, we talk about our experiences as an athlete, you know, just college or maybe pros. And I think it's a great thing.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
That's very neat. 21 years ago,
Hmm.
you were diagnosed with a brain tumor. It's a very difficult experience for anyone, any age, any stage of life. Tell me the story of how that happened.
Um, Gosh, yeah, man, that was a scary time in my life, and I didn't know what was going on with myself, with my body. Um, I lost a lot of weight, and I refereed with a gentleman that was really sick also, and we were asking each other like, "Man, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with each other?" And when I found out that I had a tumor, man, it was just a scary thing because I just figured it was a death sentence. You know, I had a pituitary tumor, And I didn't know. I never cried so much in my life because I'm like, man, what's gonna happen? And it was a dark time because I don't know. I don't know anything about tumors. I don't know anything about. I just think tumors is just something that's cancerous, and it wasn't cancerous, but it was just something up there. And oh man, they took it out, and my life changed since then, and it changed in a way that made me realize, like, man, you've been dogging it for the longest, man. You got to take care of yourself and take every little opportunity that you have and enjoy it, because you know nothing is guaranteed. I gained a lot of weight, got bigger and all, but I realized that, man, every opportunity that you have, and shoot, take advantage of it, man. Nothing is given without that chance of to take advantage of that little bit of opportunity that you have now.
Life is short
Extremely.
and precious,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you described a couple of the symptoms. You said you were losing weight. What were some other symptoms that you had? Because most people are not just going to assume they have a brain tumor if they start to feel bad.
I,
What were some things that you had?
I'll tell you what happened. I lost a lot of weight. I mean, extremely a lot, probably about 40 to 50 pounds. I didn't have no facial or like pubic hairs. It just stopped working on me. I was extremely tired. Just I had no energy, couldn't do anything. I can remember being in a football game, refereeing, and I was so tired, couldn't move. They told me to get off the field. I went up to the clock and did the clock, falling asleep on the clock. Another thing, I couldn't stay awake. It was just bad symptoms that I thought could be the worst for me, but
Extremely noticeable. It was beyond just being tired.
oh man.
Was your
yeah.
hair falling out or just stopped growing?
Stopped growing?
It stopped growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and I probably looked like I was about 18, 19, because I was just
Yeah.
small. My skin just more pale. Yeah, it was a bad look for me.
How fast did that happen?
Over a couple of months.
Yes.
Because, you know, I went before the doctor actually sent me to get a CAT scan, MRI. It's probably about 4 or 5 months. Yeah, because I went through a whole football season and everything just struggling.
Wow.
Struggling.
Do you
Mhm.
think possibly if you had one of those scans earlier, they'd be able to
Mhm.
catch it? Or do you think it was growing?
I think it was growing because, you know, at a time when I first started feeling like that, I didn't think anything of it, but just it got worse and worse over a little bit of time. And then it became noticeable. And I never forget, I went to my endocrinologist, you know, for the diabetes. And I'm stumbling in the office. I'm literally like walking in, just don't know what's going on. And I get in the office, I see my wife sitting there. She was sitting in the office. And boy, my wife just went off on the endocrinologist, telling him that he failed me, and he was looking at me. He's like, "Man, my husband, something wrong with him. We need to find out what's wrong." And I didn't realize I was that bad. It was bad. But I remember sitting in the classroom, and one of my students telling me, like, "Man, coach, yeah, you were bad because we were doing whatever we want." I didn't realize.
What kind of treatment did you have to receive?
Well, after that, you know, just with the steroids and rest.
Well, tell me how they treated the tumor. What did they do?
Oh shoot, they went in. You know, the operation through my nose, up through my nose, and in the front lobe up here. I don't know where
Yeah,
exactly is in the head, and they took it out.
through the nose.
Yes,
Wow.
straight up in the. I know. That's what I was like.
And it was
"Gotta
just
be
one
kidding."
procedure?
Yes, 20, 21, almost 22 years ago now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And not cancerous.
Thank God.
So you just elaborated. What were some of the treatments you needed beyond the surgery?
Ah, Tom, I take so many different medications now. Literally, man, I every day I take 8 medications, different
Sure.
medications every
Yeah.
day. And you know, the one thing that I know, like I still take the like a steroid, you know, to help me out.
Yeah.
But you know, I thought that helped me, that gained a lot of weight. Yeah. I know. I just, without going into the names of a bunch of different
Sure.
medications, but
Yeah, but it persists to the day, till this day.
yes.
Yeah.
So, I feel better and I can't complain. Yeah, I could, but yeah, I'm happy.
What would you tell someone right now that's battling a brain tumor? It could be cancerous, it could be benign. What would you tell them today?
That's a good question. And I'm going to tell you why it's a good question. I work with someone that's battling the same thing, and I can see in their face that they were just like me, scared, confused, don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't want them to know that I knew their situation. So in a roundabout way, I was kind of talking to them and just saying, man, I had a brain tumor back then. I was like, man, you know what? You're gonna be all right. And they were looking at me like, oh, how you know? And then I started talking about my incident and like, man, look, you just have to have faith and just know now, today, you're gonna be all right. And I can see like some of the tension just kind of relief just off their shoulders because they're like, you had it, talk to me anytime about it. Even though I was in that same situation, scared as heck. No, I cried for days and just really, it just really just hard concept to kind of take in and just kind of swallow and like understand that, man, you talking about your life now.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Heavy.
big time.
I hope they pull through,
Yes.
right? Root for 'em.
Exactly.
You're a man of many talents.
Okay.
In addition to teaching and coaching and refereeing, you also have a training facility, it's
Mhm.
been on your shirt. You also have a podcast. Tell me about both of the Stacey Simmons Sports Training Center and your podcast.
Well, I started the Stacey Simmons Sports Training Facility about 19 years ago, and I used to do camps, track camps over the summer, and I had a young man, Nathan Limbs, businessman now. Nathan dad came to me and said, hey, Stace, would you mind working with my son? Just teach him how to run a little bit. He was in 8th grade. I was like, heck yeah. So we used to go out and run a little bit at Largo. I'm showing him just the basics of running. And he wanted me to continue while he started high school. So twice a week, I would go out right after practice, 30 minutes at the most, and just do drills and just a couple of sprints. After practice, do you know over the course of his 4 years, we had other players come and wanted to do the same thing. He started playing varsity, and he told me one day, he said, Stace, um, you should charge people. I'm like, I could never charge. It was just something I wanted to do. And he said, don't worry, I will. And I never forget, I was doing their spring game and he come and their head coach yells out, Stace, I got money for you. Now, you know what that sounds like in front of,
They're bribing you. Yeah, as
and
a
I'm
ref.
looking like, you
Yeah.
gotta be kidding. So that was the start of the Stacey Simmons Sports Training with that young man. He put everything together, high schooler, senior in high school, and we started working out football players. But then over time, it just, everybody started coming, baseball, basketball players, anybody wanted to run. And once the summer was over, we were like, what we gonna do? And so we were laughing, we'll start a women's boot camp. That picked up. The women's boot camp did, and it was NFL style. So from there, it just continued to go. We brought in baseball players working on speed, and it became a great thing. We really liked doing it. But then those young guys that started with me, Nate and Joe Smiley, they were going to college, and they had other life adventures that they were interested in. So it was kind of like me by myself, and I was like, oh goodness, what am I going to do? So, but it's still going 19 years later.
Awesome.
And you asked about the podcast.
Tell me all about it.
Tom, I wasn't a person that really talked, but I just thought the podcast was interesting. For the last 10 years, I've been talking about it, and that's all, just talking about it. And more so as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, I want to do something. for myself. I want to do something that I think is challenging. Now it's outside of my comfort zone, and I'm getting comfortable now with being uncomfortable. And I bring in athletes like yourself, um, and we talk about transitions from being an athlete to your second career. So locker rooms to life. And you know, they can be any sport. They can be playing checkers, if checkers is considered a sport.
Sure.
But how do you make that transition from checkers, being a cheerleader, football player, power lifter,
Yep.
you know, to everyday living and the lessons that you learn through the course of playing your sport? How did that carry over into the real world and continue winning like you did before?
It's awesome. Where can people find your podcast?
Right now I'm just on YouTube. And my name is Stacey's It All. Stacee It All.
Awesome. I'll have
Yes.
that in the video as
There
well.
you go.
And it's in the description. So
There
you'll
you
definitely
go.
be in here. Definitely check it out. I have a gift for you.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I told you that.
Uh-oh.
Have you caught on? You may have seen other episodes.
Yeah. Oh,
So I write all my notes before I give you yours. I write all my notes and field notes.
that's what I'm looking for.
I love them. They're made in the US and it's a brand I really want to support.
Yep.
I'd love to really work with them in the future. I handwrite all my notes, every question. Afterwards, I'll have you look through it. It really holds me accountable that if I'm losing my pace, if I don't know where I want to take the direction, I can just look down and say, this is where we're going to go next, right? And it's just as much a conversation as it is an interview.
Yep.
But it really helps. It helps that it's handwritten. I write notes on your life, and I write my first series of questions, and I'll cross things out. I'll draw arrows. I got to rearrange this, blah, 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 blah. And then when I rewrite it, I'm able to come up with new questions I didn't think of the first time.
Okay.
So by doing this multiple times, I'm really able to refine these questions. So I have unique questions just for you.
Oh.
I'm not just repeating every question from every other guest.
Okay.
Some of them reoccur.
Yes.
Definitely life lessons, things that you've learned. But it's a huge help. So every guest gets their own field notes.
Oh, yeah.
And I love these. They fit in your pocket. I've used a lot of them. Every guest gets one. So that's for you.
Hey, now, Tom, ever since I met you the first time months ago, I've been waiting on this, and I'm going to tell you why.
What?
Because I admire your notes, and I even took a page, 2 or 3 out of your book, and I started doing my notes and more extensive research because, I mean, you really inspired me with the field notes, and I've been waiting on this instead of just going out and getting it. I said, no, I'm going to wait for Tom to give me my own field notes. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I really do. Of course. I'm really grateful. And it's something I want more people to do.
Uh-huh.
I'm on my phone more than I'd like to admit. And I'm on my computer even more than that, believe it or not, between editing and everything else. It's very different to sit down with pen and paper and just write. It's very different.
Mhm.
You'll notice if you're rushing, your handwriting changes. If you have more time, you'll notice if you hesitate. And then I use different colored ink so I know what I'm talking about, different subjects and stuff like that. And it just changes the way you think. It's different than just talking into your phone. Hey, write this down, go to my notes or my reminders or anything else. So I think more people should be handwriting. And it helps, right?
Thank you.
I have a big thank you to Lewis, your
Mhm.
friend.
Yes.
This is Grooveland Recording Studio.
Yes.
It's in Clearwater, Florida. You can reach out to Lewis. I'll put in the description how to do that. You can record. There's a plaque behind me.
Yep.
He's recorded a lot of artists, nearly, 40 years?
Oh, heck yes.
He's been here nearly 40 years. And if you're in the Clearwater area looking to record, this is a place to do it. I'm really grateful for letting us host here. He's a dear friend of yours.
Yes, he is.
So I'm really, really grateful. I'm sure you know every episode ends the same way.
Uh-oh.
The mantra of the podcast is my dad's greatest advice to me. It's to never waste a mistake. And I know I say it every episode.
I love that.
It's such an important lesson to me that it's never waste any mistake. It's not just your mistake. So it's lessons that you've learned, your parents have learned, your coaches at UF, learning from your teammates in the NFL, playing arena football, learning from brain tumors and everything else. If we learn from any mistake you made along the way, we can avoid making that mistake ourselves.
Yep.
And everyone can be better because of it. So the final question to every episode is, what is one mistake you have not wasted?
One mistake that I've not wasted. I love that question. And as I was thinking and hearing you say that, I think about growing up, and I've learned and I was taught to be respectful, always cordial, polite in a sense. However, as an athlete, a professional athlete, you can't be too nice, because in reality, nice guys finish last. And I've always been a nice guy. So I don't mean it in a bad way, but you got to be a dog. And what my dad used to try to instill in me and try to tell me, stop being so nice when you want something, go after it, because at the end of the day, not everybody has your interests at heart. So it took me forever to understand that. Go out and get it. Don't be scared to get what you want, and don't wait for it to happen, because it may not ever happen if you don't take any action for it. So that's my advice, is go out and get it. Don't be scared, and don't be such a nice guy in a sense of.
Don't let people walk over you.
Exactly.
I think really wraps
exactly.
it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could be too nice to your detriment, that people take advantage of you. And you got to stand up for yourself.
Exactly.
You're the man.
I like that question.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Stacey, that's a wrap.
Hey, you are the man, Mosch.
You're the man. You enjoyed it?
Love you, baby.
Love you, man.
All righty.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.